Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott, I'm the Emperor of Stomaria, and today I want to talk a little bit about how and why Stomaria was founded. Now, as I said in my previous video, me and my family have now moved. We are still unpacking a vast amount of our things. Everything is still a bit topsy-turvy. So this isn't going to be the new setup, if you like, but I will try to incorporate the flag in our future setup, but it's just, mirrors and pictures haven't been hung up. There's still a mountain of boxes over there that need to be unpacked, furniture that needs to be built. So there's a lot still to do. So the final setup has not yet been established. But I wanted to make this video because it's been a little bit, about a week now, I think, since the last time I uploaded a YouTube video. And I think people expect it a bit more frequently now, some of the videos that we put out, and I want to try and keep on top of that as much as I can. Obviously with the move, has been difficult, but I've also had other things going on. I had my booster vaccine a few days ago, so I've been feeling pretty rough because of that as well. So just one thing on top of another, really. But I wanted to make this video in particular because as I was unpacking some of our things, I came across a photo album that my mum prepared for me and my other siblings a year or two ago. And obviously, starts off with us as babies and then growing up. And in that photo album was pictures of the forts and the chariots and the weapons and things that me and my siblings built and used in the sort of early 2000s to the mid 2000s, that sort of time. And I think I might have mentioned this in a previous video, I don't know which one, but the inspiration for the Empire of Stomaria actually comes from an RTS game called Empire Earth. Long story short, it's a civilization creation game. You raise armies to battle your opponents, you create economies, you mine for resources, you build cities and structures. It's that sort of thing. And we sort of took all of those sorts of ideas and tried to apply them in the real world. So me and my siblings would get our friends and we would build forts, and we would do battles, and we would have an agrarian economy, and we would have a system of taxation, and we'd build tools and weapons. And over time it became quite advanced. I mean, it started off as literally we'd go into a nearby woodland there was a little stream there, and we'd build a little bridge over it, and over that bridge we'd have these little huts, I suppose you'd call them, trees, tree branches sort of leant up against each other, trying to make like little shelters and things like that. But by the time it sort of all came to a close, we had built these relatively impressive forts, and we had experimented with creating chariots and things like that. Just doing what kids do. And it just got me thinking, really, because that is, where the inspiration for the Empire of Stomaria initially sort of came from. is that real world activity of civilization creation, of nation building. That's what really interested me. About understanding how the world worked and ways in which we could, either build upon or improve it. And that's what interests me. But the but the issue obviously is that, when you're going on 14, 15, 16, you start to lose interest in those sorts of things for the most part as, life takes over. You have exams and school, and then after that you've got, typically, not me myself, but then you have college and university and things like that. And then, you meet the girl, and then you move in together and you have the kids, and before you know it, the sort of the childlike enthusiasm you had, I think maybe dies off or peters out, or certainly gets put to one side while, adult life kind of takes over. And that's what happened with me to a large extent. But just to talk about my own history, I suppose, about how it all sort of led up to the formation of Stomaria, because the inspiration for the Empire of Stomaria, its name, where it all comes from, that goes back to Empire Earth. It goes back to this civilization creation, this nation building on a childlike, minute scale. But my own personal journey took me from there to an adventure in politics, which consumed the better part of a decade of my life. So when I was 19, I founded a political party called the United People's Party. A few months later, I actually became a member of my local council, and when my parents moved home, I obviously moved with them. I lived with my parents at the time, moved home, I left that local council, and I joined the new local council, the new one that was local to me. And over time, it sort of grew and expanded, and the sort of core message of the United People's Party was very much one of pragmatism, one of, a fusion, if you like, of left and right. We weren't, I suppose we were more to the left in the sense we were quite progressive, but it was never like, a hard left party or anything like that. And over time, we sort of recruited more members, and we got new councillors across Britain. I think we had 4 or 5 at its peak, just little local councillors, but, it was something. And then, like I said, over time, it did evolve. The message very much stayed the same, but the members of the party voted on numerous occasions to amend the name and the imagery of the party in order to try to attract a wider following. So from the United People's Party, it became the Patriotic Socialist Party, and then it became the British People's Party, all of which was about this fusion of left and right, about bringing the best of both worlds, I suppose you'd call it. A lot of my own personal views have evolved quite a lot since those days. I have to say, I've become a lot more conservative with a small c, a lot more libertarian. Not to say I'm, a hardcore libertarian or hardcore conservative in any shape or form. I am quite a progressive individual, all the same, about individual liberty and individual rights and individual choice. That's where my core values lies, in the individual sovereignty of, protecting the rights of the individual, the natural rights of the individual. That's, I think, where my core values lie, in addition to my belief in, social cohesion and social responsibility and sustainability in everything that we do, be it, in terms of money, in terms of the environment, in terms of energy, or whatever it may be. Sustainability is key. But again, going off on a bit of a tangent here, but the journey that I had in politics, it lasted from when I was 19 until I was about 26. So whatever that was, 7, pushing 8 years, I think, by the time I actually sort of finished up there. But I think it was my time there in politics where I really had a growing disdain for that kind of platform, and even for democracy as a whole, frankly. If anyone's ever had to sit through a council meeting or anyone's ever had to go knocking on doors to try and convince other people about the way the world should be, when they honestly just do, they don't care or they don't understand. That was a very frustrating platform for me personally to be on, because I had a particular vision for the world, and I do have a particular vision of the world, about how the world could be or should be. And through politics, what you are effectively doing, if you are a politician, and when I say a politician, I mean either an elected representative or a party activist or someone that involved in the political process, you are trying to convince other people about the way the world should be. And if you're fortunate enough to get enough support behind you, you might be able to promote that message. You might be able to promote and enact the policies that you have in mind. But even if you have that mandate on paper, the chances are the vast majority of people in in your village or your constituency or your ward or your country voted for something else. I mean, case in point, the Conservative Party in Great Britain, obviously they have the majority, they form the government of the United Kingdom, but what was it, a 60% turnout, and they won half of that, so 30, half of 60%. I mean, it's a tiny minority of people comparatively in terms of the total voting population of the country supported the Conservative Party, but they nevertheless form the government and enact decisions that affects everyone. And this never really sort of sat well with me, because, like I said, it's a fusion of a disdain for the political process in terms of having to try to convince people about the way the world should be in order to be able to live in a country or a community that you're happy with, that you can, fully get behind, with the policies of the administration that you can fully support. And also the grinding, slow, tedious process of various meetings, even on a local level. But it really was a grind for me, especially when I was younger, to actually have to endure some of the meetings at the local council level, where you'd have to listen to people ramble about nothing and then have to come to a decision. But people, I think this is where my sort of more authoritarian streak comes in, I think, where I'm very much this is how I want it to be, so this is the way it's going to be, sort of take within the micronational community, within the Empire of Stomaria. But again, going on a tangent. So I got involved in politics, and I was there until I was involved in politics since 26. I stood for election, more often than not as a paper candidate, traveled the country on various election campaigns, which was good fun, I have to say. Meeting different people and meeting the party members and party activists and party candidates who were themselves standing for election. I like going talking to people and handing out leaflets and things like that and trying to get them elected. Yeah, that was a big part of my life. But because of the reasons I've just mentioned, because of the overall grind that I found in trying to convince people to support ideals, support objectives, support values that they either didn't care about or they didn't support at all, that was a real roadblock for me, because I felt like I was just wasting my time. And in the United Kingdom, if you're not one of the major parties, by and large you are wasting your time. It's just a sad fact of living in a first past the post system, I'm afraid. And by trying to change the world, I really missed, my own life. Between 19 and 26, you might call it the prime of your life. You might call it, the time that you should be, going out and having fun and doing things. And I was so terrified of saying or doing anything, lest, photos or videos of me doing something silly or something like that would, get into circulation, even on a small level. And, people would pick up on that, if a party leader, was getting, drunk in a local pub and saying some, unscrupulous things, that can really hurt someone. That can really, in terms of politics, in terms of your position as a party leader, in terms of electability and that sort of thing. And so I was extremely paranoid about doing anything, and certainly posting about anything other than party political stuff. And by the time I reached 26, I finally had enough. I felt, I just woke up one morning, you know what, I'm wasting my life, I'm wasting my time, I'm, you know, not enjoying my life in the in an effort to try and convince people to vote a particular way so that I can promote policies and objectives which I think are important and which other people at the time, I suppose I would think that I think they should also adhere to and support and get behind. But, you know, it really was a breaking point for me. So I left politics to focus on my own life. And coincidentally, a few months after that, I actually met Samantha, my now wife. Because turns out if you just focus on your own life a little bit better, good things can happen to you. So maybe that's a lesson for life for someone out there who's focused on work or on party politics or even micronationalism. You know, get out there, go enjoy your life, because you never know, you might, you know, might actually live a little. But that's sort of my journey into politics. Was, at the end of the day, it was just about trying to promote the values and objectives I thought were important. It was about trying to change the world through that platform. And it wasn't until 3 years later, when the Empire of Stomaria was actually formed, when I sort of delved into the micronationalism in terms of, you know, researching what micronationalism was and all the rest of it. And it sort of ticked a lot of boxes for me, in the sense that it had that civilization building, that society, you know, building an alternative society sort of aspect to it. But I didn't need anyone's approval for that. I didn't need to go campaigning for that. I could just do it. Because I think micronationalism is different from politics in the very fundamental, well, in various fundamental ways. But for me, the key one is that with politics, the idea is to convince as many people as possible to think the way that you think. In micronationalism, you can just do it by yourself. You can take your corner of the world, your little plot, your little dwelling, your home, your room, and you could just turn it into something that, you know, represents you. So, you know, if you're big on, you know, green energy or renewable energy, and you have your own home, you know, you don't need to go next door and hand out leaflets in your community and, you know, try to convince people to go green. If you truly believe that, have a little organic, you know, a little veg patch, a little organic veg patch. Put some solar panels on your roof or something. That's the difference. I mean, you can do that as well as doing the campaigning, but the thing with micronationalism is you don't have to. It's just about making your own little corner of the world the way you want it to be. It's not about trying to convince others that that's how they should live their lives. And I think, at the end of the day, if more people simply acted and engaged in activities that they think other people should do, if they just did it themselves, if everyone did what they thought was right, then I think maybe the world would be a slightly better place, because it would be taking the responsibility out of the hands of politicians and political activists and more into the hands of just everyday people. This video's gone on for a long time, and I am just rambling about things at the moment because I don't want to unpack any more boxes. But I just wanted to sort of shine a little bit more of a light on me and where Stomaria comes from, because like I said, seeing that photo album, it just made me think about where it all started and how I've got to where I am now. And it's been a journey, and you know, a lot of regrets have been had, I'm sad to say, because I did spend a lot of my time on things which I could have spent doing other things. But I don't think micronationalism will be a regret of mine, in the sense that I'm just doing what I want to do, and there are people, fortunately, who do support what we do, and people who want to get involved in what we're doing. But their support for me and for the project, their involvement in the project, that is not necessary for me to continue doing what I'm doing. I have said this before, but for a micronation to work, you just need yourself. You need your own self-motivation. I mean, if your family or friends can get involved, so much the better. But at the end of the day, a micronation more often than not consists of a single individual. Yeah, I think I'm going to sort of leave it there, because I'm not even sure where I'm going with this anymore. But, you know, if you did want to become a part of Stomaria, part of our community, then please feel free to become a citizen through our Patreon campaign, the link of which I shall leave in the description below as always. But otherwise, if you enjoyed this random, off-the-cuff, rambling video, then please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.